Welcome to the Art of Quantum Healing, where we speak about trauma, mental health and healing. I am your host, Lisa Nadler, and I'm thrilled to have you come into my energetic field. In this podcast, I will be sharing my own personal experiences to guide, teach, and help pave the way. We'll also be welcoming so many other divine souls who have overcome trauma and found happiness, health, wealth, and next level abundance through mind, body, and soul connection. My mission is to help women high vibe and thrive with inner peace, passion, and purpose. Welcome to another episode of the Art of Quantum Healing. Today I'm going to be diving a little bit deeper into the dimensions and what I am feeling and channeling through right now for the collective. I'm really feeling with every fiber of my being that we are at a tipping point, and that tipping point is going to decide the direction that a lot of us go in. Now, what I mean by that is that we've always had this 3D matrix that we've been living in. And then we've had the beautiful 4-1 that we've been transitioning as we've been sending and doing our shadow work and our healing. And then we've been in the 5D when we're feeling in that real place that we're allowing a lot more love into our heart. We're living from our heart. The shadows and the trauma and the things that have held us back, limiting beliefs, self-sabotage, all those sort of things that we've been doing are no longer within us. We still absolutely have times where when we always need to be healing, we always need to be clearing. It's an absolute continual journey. But when you anchor into that 5D, you really live from a place of love. You no longer thrive in a place of fear. You no longer attach yourself to victim things, to drama, to limiting beliefs that really hold you down and cause those 3D emotions to come in that keep you in a holding pattern, keep you stuck. You still bounce in between, the 3, 4, and 5, but you're anchoring in that beautiful space of 5. And you know that within your body, you have so much more lightness than darkness that you can actually ascend whenever you desire to. And when you realize that you're in that space, you can understand it, you can acknowledge it, you can do whatever you need to do to transmute it, and you can move beautifully into that 5D reality that you have actually created through all the beautiful shadow work that you've done, through all the beautiful the messiness and the crying and the forgiving and allowing yourself to move into that higher dimension. But when you don't know how to quite transcend, and you're not anchored into 5D, we've always had this beautiful 4D as this transitional period. And so it's been it's never easy, but it's been a bit of a flow-on effect. I had channeled through this morning that there is no longer a 4D. There is no longer a 4D dimension that you can transmute through to. It is slipped away. So now you are either in the deepest, darkest of the 3D matrix, and you're living in the fear, and you're living in the worry, and you're living in the stress, and you're living in the lower dimensional aspects of what keep you hold down. And so you're actually attracting that because I lived in this space for 44 to 45 years of my life, and I was attracting things to be able to feed my belief system that this is where I was meant to be. This is the container I had put myself in, because I grew up with a lot of deep in victimhood. And if I didn't have any sort of dramas around me, or I wasn't, I had that belief of, things happen in 3s, so I'd have 2 sort of bad things happen. I'd be like, here we go, here's the big one. Now, when you put that into the universe or God or source, you're actually attracting that, because we're attracting so much of our environment, of the dimension that we're in, through our thoughts and our feelings and our actions. So it's a whole lot of it. You can be feeling the fear, you can be feeling the sadness, you can be feeling the loneliness, you can be feeling, the anger. And there's nothing wrong with those emotions, but it's only if you are transcending what is coming through for you and you're acknowledging it and you're being in the present moment with those feelings that you can actually transmute them, and you can start the ascension work, which starts the beautiful light being able to come into your body. And light is just love. And when you're living from a place of love, you're living from a place of euphoric. You're either in pleasure or you're in pain. I believe you're also either in love or you're in fear. So because we're adding to these things that we're creating with our life, we're adding these emotions and these feelings and these thoughts, it's like putting that all in a washing machine and just putting it on spin cycle. And that's how you feel right now, right? That's sometimes how you feel. You're like, oh my God, am I going to get out of this friggin' spin cycle? The way to get out of the spin cycle is to understand why you're feeling this way. And it's not just to go, and when I say this, I'm just going to take a step back. When I say to how to understand why you're feeling this way, what I mean is you don't look for an external reality. You don't look for anything external to be holding on to. And you most certainly do not blame any outside influence, because the minute you blame an outside influence, a thing, a person, a past event, you are in victimhood. And victimhood creates an external environment of more victim coming into you. And it's absolutely when you are anchored into 3D. So when you can start to simply, and I don't know if simply is the right word, but it does get to a space where you do. It's a simplicity of acknowledging it, understanding it, sitting with it for a while. If you need to do the deeper work on it to understand, why you're like this, why you're doing this pattern, why you're creating this external environment to come in, why you're attracting these people, why this relationship never works, why you just keep doing the same shit every day and expecting a different result, which is the term of insanity. So when you can understand with love and you can realize that this is not something for you to hold on to, because a lot of the times the reason why we hold on to stuff, especially with trauma, is because we are believing that it was an event that happened to us. And a lot of the times these events are actually, as weird as this happening for us. And they keep happening and happening until we understand why we're creating this into our life. So when you can go to a place of love, when you can go to a place of acknowledging why things are happening, when you can go to a place of moving through it and moving through those shadows, which sometimes feel so deep and so dark and grounded in, where you're just like in the fetal position and you're crying, you're actually transmuting it as you're in that process. And a lot of times we stop ourselves from going into that process because we don't like feeling that way. Or we're taught when we're young, be strong, don't you cry, you be strong. And things are pushed to the side. So we don't actually know how to go into that and experience what we need to, because a lot of the times as well, we don't understand, or we blame ourselves for what's happened. And we are not to blame. We are absolutely not to blame. In the quantum field, we have so many timelines that are running along beside us. We choose which timeline we jump onto whenever we are in a certain moment, whenever we are in a certain event or thing or anything that is happening around us. We decide with our feelings and our emotions where we're going to go. So if you can lean into the 5D dimension of love, even when you're transmuting something that's happened to you and someone's treated you really badly, if you can stop, acknowledge, and forgive, you can actually transmute that to light, which is love. So we need to make sure that we're not beating ourselves up, where we're not blaming other people, where we're sitting in our sovereignty and we're grounded and we're centered and we're anchored into that 5D dimension. When we're playing in the quantum field, that serves us on that timeline, that absolutely serves us 100% for growth. And even if you're on the floor in a snotty mess, you welcome it, you understand it, you just witness it. A lot of the times we can just sit in the witnessing of what's happening. It's interesting for when I'm saying this, I'm thinking, Lisa, when you were raped, when you were molested, did you welcome that in? I didn't actually welcome that in, but I welcomed in. I was on a time that it was creating victimhood and struggle and all that lowered the things, the trauma things that were coming into my life. And it's not that I went out there with a thing of saying, oh yeah, come on, I want something really bad to happen to me. That was the frequency and the energy that I was in at that time. Now and a lot of us are actually taught this when we're right in the womb. Well, not taught it, but we feel it. We're instantly, from the day that even before we conceived, we're in survival mode. We're in a mode of looking for security. And when that security is not met, then our nervous system is on alert. We learn what fear is. I mean, when you're a little child, you don't really understand it. But as you grow up and your mum says, don't you put your hand on that, when you go to put your hand on an oven, that creates an emotional charge. And you remember that emotional charge. So that's when fear comes in. So if you can absolutely know that you are always taken care of, no matter what, you are always taken care of. You are always looked after. Everything is happening for you for a reason. It's happening for you for good. And when you know that reason, when you realize and you can actually go, and I know for me, I was repeating patterns of abuse. I had karmic patterns of abuse. I had past life patterns of abuse, and I still hadn't dealt with them. I pushed them away. And so when they started coming into my life and I was pushing them away even more, I needed to have a look at that. I needed to see what was underneath that. I needed to see what I needed to heal from. And you have to feel to heal. You absolutely have to feel to heal. I used to hate that statement because I didn't know how to feel. I didn't want to feel. I wanted to block it all out. I wanted to push it all to the side. I didn't want to even feel anything because if I wasn't feeling it, I wasn't acknowledging it. And I was in my little coping mechanisms over here, and I was in my little addictions, and I was living a life of just this blurred. It was just a blur. The timeline I was on at that point, to me, was serving me 100%. But in reality, when you stop, you take a breath, and you ask yourself, is this moment, feeling, right now, thought, serving me? Or is it creating more? Am I looking at my current reality from taking myself outside of myself and looking down and knowing that we all deserve better, and you do deserve better no matter what? You always deserve better. But if you're not in pleasure, play, and happiness and joy and laughter, then you're in pain. You're in 3D. And that's a really good way to understand if you're living in 3D or you're living in 5D. And now that there is no longer what I was speaking about at the start, there is no longer this 4D. It is gone. This dimension, I believe, is so installed into 5D now. It's like a jump. You're either in the fear or you're in the happiness, and that's why it's so messy, because we don't have this 4D transformational space to be able to do what we need to do for a while, to take a breath, to allow the ascension process happen. We're bouncing up and down so fast that we just feel like we're on a fucking roller coaster. We feel like we're on a roller coaster. We're going up and we're going down. And what's happening around us at the moment with this, the worst manipulation place that we have ever been in. The worst, like what we are living in right now, I cannot believe I am living in. It is just a place where we are being fed fear all the time. So to try and keep yourself anchored in that 5D, you have to be very pure. You have to be pure in your needs. You have to hold your boundaries so fucking steady. Your boundaries have to be so strong, so strong. So strong, because it is so easy for the nervous system right now to be ignited. It's so easy. The reality we're living in, we may not have created it, but I know for me that with my external environment, I don't have a lot of things come into my field because I don't attach myself to that place. I decide what I think, what I see, what I feel, what I look at, what's in my environment. And I keep it very pure, which is why I can anchor so much into 5D. And don't get me wrong, I bounce into 3D. I did it last night. I watched something and it brought me straight down. And it was a beautiful reminder of, don't look at the external. Don't look for the answer in the external. Look for the answer internally. Look for your intuitive guidance. Look towards your higher self. Anchor into the higher dimensions. Allow yourself to be led. It all sounds like woo-woo fluffy stuff, right? But I can tell you right now, as we are packing up the last things and we've just sold our house and we're about to hit the road and we're just going to be intuitively taking us with zero plans, that I have never felt more alive. I have never felt more excited. I have never sat in so much love. Never sat in so much love. I have no idea what's happening. But I am being guided because I know this is the right thing to do. And I know I am with deep down in the bottom of my little toe, even down when I'm standing here grounding into Mother Gaia, that I am always looked after. And if I am, then so are you, because I am no different from anybody else. The biggest thing you can do right now is to allow yourself to sit in love. Allow yourself to sit in love. Love for everything. Because when we're in that love 5D, 6D, whatever dimension that you're traveling to, whatever quantum space on that beautiful timeline of happiness and love, then nothing can go wrong. And if it does, you know how to deal with it because you know how to transcend it, you know how to move through it. And you realize that to heal from something is the most beautiful space to be in, because when you're in that space, you know you're about to come up and you're about to grow and you're about to embody even more light and love. And you're about to create space for you to be able to anchor yourself in even more deep in the worthiness and the abundance and the juicy, euphoric love that you so is yours from birthright. I welcome the messiness. I welcome the triggers. I welcome the shadows, because when I can sit and I can just be present with them, I can understand the messages for me. Before it gets to the space where I'm in deep in the victimhood, or I'm deep in the struggle. And that's my past, that's my pattern. So ask yourself, what are yours? Ask yourself, what are mine? What emotions are my go-to? Where am I projecting something that is not serving me when I actually need to take ownership for everything in my life? Now that's a hard fucking pill to swallow, but you have to take ownership for everything in your life. And it is a game changer. It is it's a pill that sets you free. It really does. Be okay to go into the shadows. Be okay to look for the time that you need to heal on. Be okay to let yourself go. Be okay to say no to people. Be okay to set your boundaries so high that you can honor your needs, and the flow-on effect externally and internally is next fucking level. Magnificence. Be okay to sit in anger. Be okay to sit in sadness. Be okay to sit in your shit. That's what I used to call mine. I'm going to go and sit in my shit and see what's happening. And you don't necessarily have to go into the deep despairs of digging around to see what you can find. Just sit in the present moment. Take a breath. Acknowledge the feelings that are coming up. Acknowledge what's happening in your life right now. And ask yourself, ask your soul, ask your higher self, ask Source, ask God, whoever you believe in, what can I do right now to move forward for my highest good? We are never given more than we can handle. And right now we're being given a lot. So where can you live from? Where can you stand in your sovereignty and say no? Where can you honor yourself with that intuitiveness of that you know something's wrong, but yet you're doing it because something may get taken away from you, or you may not get to see somebody in the next year, or whatever it may be, or maybe you need to go on a couple of month healing journey like I did and take yourself away from everything. Or maybe you need to go and fight for what's right for you. You will be taken care of. You are not alone. None of us are alone. Don't move into the fear zone. Move into the love zone for what's best for you. Take away the noise. Take away the messiness. Take away the external environment and live inside. Live internally. It's an inside job. It's such a beautiful inside job. Start honoring self first and watch the flow on effect. Be okay to sit with your emotions. Be okay to sit with your feelings. And when something comes up and you honor something to what it is, do some journaling around it. Do some forgiveness work for yourself. Do some forgiveness work for others if you feel so inclined. Allow yourself to transmute. Allow yourself to feel the emotion. Allow yourself to kick and scream and cry. That's when you're really releasing. That's when you're doing your deepest releasing work. You don't necessarily need to know what it is, but just allow. So that way you can bring in more love. That way you can bring in more light. Light workers, star seeds, we are being called up right now. This is it. This is it. If we don't stand in our sovereignty, if we don't stand in our truth, if we don't remember, if we don't bring in our remembrance to why we're here, then we will not be able to control anything within our life ever again. And that sounds really harsh and scary, but it's true. Stand for you right now. Stand for your freedom. Stand for your choice. Stand for who you are. And allow yourself to feel the emotions that you need to feel so you can anchor into the 5D and you can rise above everything that's happening right now. You can rise above it all. And that was the message that was channeled through to me this morning, plus some. And I really wanted to share it with you because it was such a passionate explosion. And I woke up about 3 o'clock this morning and it was just pouring through. People need to know the time is now. The time is now. Do not relent. Do not give up. Do not surrender. Do not do what forces are wanting you to do. What is best for you, for us, for you, for them, for us. It's no longer about just you in this picture. What we do is collectively huge. It will set the tone for our children, for our children's children. And I know what sort of world I want our children's children to, or even children to grow up in. It's not about us anymore. It's not about the okay to go and do something because you feel that it might be taken away from you. It's such a bigger fucking picture. And we need to keep on this healing journey. We need to keep on this transcending journey. We need to keep on this journey of moving up to the higher dimensions so we cannot be held down in this fear-based reality. This work has been so key to my growth, so key to my strength, so key to everything moving forward. You got this. Stand in your sovereignty. Stand in your growth. Stand in your power. And be okay to allow yourself to heal what needs to heal. It is for your greater good. It is for the greater good of everybody. And that was another beautiful episode of The Art of Quantum Healing. I look forward to next week's episode and sending you all so much love. Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. Make sure to check out all the show notes of today's episode on my website by clicking on the link in the description. Also, make sure to join my newsletter to receive a free guided meditation to help you feel grounded throughout your day. Finally, make sure to subscribe to my channel and help us grow the community by sharing it with your friends. I am your host, Lisa Nadler, and this is The Art of Quantum Healing.